Week 6, here we are. By the scores, you'd kind of figure that's how the games would go. But if you look into them a little more, maybe a little more storyline, I don't know. All I can say is 5-1 is fine with me. Nutmeg, how are we today?
5-1 is also just fine with me, Bucks McGee. it may have not been the prettiest 5-1, but like you always say, just 1 point better. So whether it's 1 or 21 or 3 or whatever it is, a dub is a dub is a dub.
That's it. Exactly. Past the past the first quarter point, and some teams are looking sharp. Some other ones, as we figured, just in the dumps. And other ones, maybe some questions.
Yeah, it's weird that we're like a third ish way through the season. It feels like we just watched that Brazil game.
Yeah, right. And now we're like, wow, 6 weeks in.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, I gotta say.
Yeah, like you said, it's a funny week because I don't think there's any one particular game that really stood out above all others. Uh, but they all kind of had this similar theme where the results are kind of what we expected, but they're not quite the way we thought the victor would get to that point.
Very true. Denver and the Jets are, I think, a perfect example of that one.
That was
But
that was an example of nobody wants this game.
very true, very true.
So we'll start off the discussion with this Sunday nighter, and the Chiefs were able to take the lead before half, but that one's a little bit. I mean, I don't know whether I really thought it would be a blowout. I figured at least a half of it would be close before Detroit kind of got going. But what's your kind of instant reaction from the half as far as Detroit getting their feet under them and Kansas City holding it close?
Kansas City looks like they're pulling every trick out of the book at this point to convince America that they're still who they are. At this point, it's Patrick Mahomes and a bunch of spare parts. Their defense, solid. They're playing Detroit. Detroit leads the league in points per game. They've played Detroit well. I'll give them credit, but I I don't know, man. Anyone who really still feels that the Chiefs are the class of the AFC is lying to themselves. And I'm not saying they're not going to have a say in it, but at this point, they don't look sharp to me. It's Patrick, running around finding guys, his usual heroics, but it seems like Detroit, for the most part, has answers to it. There was, going for it on fourth down, and, Detroit handles that. Detroit had their chance, on fourth down, and, the sun god himself drops the ball there. So it's going to be the second half is going to be vital, I think, for Detroit. They're just going to have to play smart defense. They're nicked up like everybody else is, but I think they should be able to pull this out. They really should. The key is going to be the first drive of the second half because KC has the ball, and we'll just see from there.
It's funny how the it could set up the Bills being the Bills' year with the way the AFC looking right now, and Kansas City kind of starting out in the hole that they've started themselves out in. I mean, if Buffalo can't do it this year, then it really might be a problem.
Yeah, like literally at this point, you look at the AFC, and no one would really say, "Wow, Pittsburgh is almost the class of the AFC by default."
Yeah.
Be real. Like give Pittsburgh their flowers and all, but no one would have said, "Oh, Pittsburgh 5-1, dominant, running away with the AFC North," and then there's everybody else dealing with their issues and. Baltimore falling apart, the Chiefs seeing the cracks, in their armor now. And people still believe in Buffalo, but, it's okay. Can they do it? There is that question. Can they do it? So it makes it interesting. It makes it fun because it's like, wow, who's going to be standing tall at the end to represent the AFC in the Super Bowl? But these teams, when you've got games that you need to win, you got to win them, because this is now you're getting to the point where you're getting that push and you've got to win these games.
I never would have guessed that the next best teams in the AFC behind the Bills would be the Steelers and Indianapolis.
I don't think that was on our board this year. I think
so either. I think we roasted them pretty well on our schedule picks.
Yeah, we were sitting there going, Yeah, probably once we get to the halfway point of the season, I'm going to want to look back at this and see where I cashed in and where I looked the fool, for sure. But it's like I said, this game is just going to come down to who makes the plays in the second half. Detroit being down 3 at half, I don't think they're concerned. It's just, okay, this first drive, hold them. Even if you hold them to just 3, I think it's strong, and then Detroit's just going to have to run their offense.
Mm-hmm. Your game, which of course you were in attendance for, I kind of looked at this as a little bit of a flip of the coin, just because the Niners have played above their heads in a lot of ways this season, despite the rash of injuries, and the Bucs have offensively performed in a way that, it's like, okay, this is what the Bucs do, but they, made everything close. The defense had kind of some lapses at times. So I kind of thought this was maybe a coin flip, and it was not. the Bucs won this one going away a little bit.
It was a good game. It was the first game where I felt semi-confident that I wasn't going to need any kind of heart medicine, midway through the fourth quarter. Exactly. You've got to give credit to Mac Jones. We joked on him, and since his days in New England, and the guy played his tail off today. Injury and all, played his tail off. The kid was making some serious throws. He's a legit quarterback in the league, and honestly, after this season, a team has got to take a flyer on him. I think if he's in a Shanahan type offense like the Niners run, he can be successful. He could be kind of like Sam Darnold. How he went a couple places with going into Minnesota and stuff like that, going from San Fran to Minnesota to Seattle. I think if Mac follows that, I think he'll find somewhere and be successful like Sam Darnold. But at the end of the day, for San Fran, it was just the injuries. I think, especially with what happened to Fred Warner today, the injuries have really caught up to them, and it's going to be tough for them to. I don't want to say they won't make the playoffs, but it's going to be an uphill battle.
Yeah, there's some injuries to talk about, but real quick on Mac Jones, I hate the I hate the term system quarterback, but he kind of is. But he's also the type of player, like you said, if it's the right system, if it's the wrong system, it could be a disaster. But if it's the right system, it's a very, very competent player.
Yeah, I think what it is, but that's the thing. Like, you have to be the right quarterback in the right system. You just can't throw somebody on your team and think that they're going to be the guy. And I think the NFL has evolved in that way. Coaches, they run certain plays that they're just, some guys are ground and pound, some guys are aerial artists. That's what they want to do. These guys coming out of college, they're playing, multiple offenses, but once you get to the NFL, you've got to fit the niche that this team has. And I think a lot of times teams are just drafting because a guy could be a number 1 pick. He may not fit what you need, but you're taking him because he's the best, quote unquote. So I think honestly, if he had gone to San Fran in the beginning, it's a totally different situation.
Right. Now, obviously, with the game kind of being a little out of hand, the big news out of this one are the injuries. Fred Warner, really nasty, dislocated ankle. Obviously, a huge showing by the team coming out to support him before he got carted off. And so he's done for the season, as anyone who saw the play would probably assume as such. But also your rookie wonderkin, Emeka Egbuka, hamstring injury that forced him to miss the second half.
Why do we do anything easy? That's all right. Our 4, 5, and 6 guys, can handle it. No. So he's got a bit of a hamstring issue. Good news is hopefully within the next week or two, Mike Evans comes back. the way this season has gone, I can't sit here and say, okay, the sky is falling. We've had injuries all year,
Yeah,
and to be 5-1
survive.
at, exactly, and to be 5-1 at this spot is pretty good. So it's just going to be next man up. And with the way the injuries are, everyone heals up. They'll be back for they'll be back for a stretch run, no doubt. So it's tough. You want your guys all the time, but I think they'll be able to overcome it and be okay come, definitely second half of the year.
Well, at some point, you're also going to be welcoming back Jalen McMillan too. Uh, so
Yeah, yeah. Thanks, Teddy Bridgewater.
yeah, just don't,
Uh,
just don't let Teddy in garbage time when Baker has a Baker game.
he just hands off. Teddy's just a handoff specialist at this point. So
Yeah,
yeah, hopefully, McMillan, he comes back. If we can have the full complement of wide receivers, I think this offense could be really good. So it's gonna take some time. Some guys will come back on their own, and we'll take it as is. But the mantra is just next man up, and Tampa showing that's how we win.
yeah, and then not the vibes on the Niners side, not so good. Obviously, it just adds to the laundry list of injuries and giving up 30 points in this game to Tampa. Yeah, it's great. The Tampa is a quite a proficient offense, but uh, the fact that like Fred Warner maybe was the glue that held this defense together, and giving up 30 points is maybe a harbinger of things to come.
Yeah, you saw it, and you saw it once Warner was out. The run game. Tampa really worked on the run game, worked the middle of the field, pass wise, and that's Fred Warner's bread and butter. He runs that defense. He patrols that. So now it's going to be who they can find to kind of step up and handle that. But they've got so many new starters on that defense and such. It's going to be a tough thing. And with Mac Jones and nicked up a bit, though Brock Purdy is supposed to be coming back, but I think you lose a little when you take Mac
Yeah,
Jones out. You know.
yeah. You don't mess with the chemistry, especially with the amount of interchanging parts you have.
Yeah, but that's what it is. So now we get to see if Brock Purdy can work the magic that Mac Jones has.
Yeah. Their injuries, of course. Joe Burrow went down pretty early on this season. Um, and they lost their patience with Jake Browning. They bring in Joe Flacco, and not the worst performance in the debut. I mean, I can't. Again, this is another game that the Packers won well. Like we've talked about, we talk about it every week how terrible Cincinnati's defense is. So of course the Packers were going to play. Although I expected Jordan Love to still, have hit that mystical 300-yard mark, and he didn't. But a win is a win. Jacobs found the end zone as he usually does. But even in Flacco's debut, even in the loss, he did. It may have been at the end where the game was kind of already lost, but he at least had some chemistry with JaMarr Chase. So silver linings, maybe.
Maybe it was just like the first half was putrid. Like if you in seeing those highlights and stuff, it was like, wow. So why did you bring this 40-year-old in? Like what was he? What
Yeah.
was he there for? But yeah, like you said, him and Chase hooked up a little bit. I don't know. I think there were so many better options out there that you really could have went with. It's just Cincinnati's just bad. Like there's nothing to say. We've said everything we can about Cincinnati. I give them credit. Their defense held up a little better than I thought it did.
Yeah.
The bigger question is, like you said, is Jordan Love ever going to throw for 300 yards? And is he ever going to, is this offense going to be the wow,
Right.
elite that, everyone is trying to force Green Bay
Yeah.
to be? Because in the preseason, it was, Green Bay's going to be the team. They're going to be the team. And we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah.
So it's like,
If you can't do it against Cincinnati's defense, this awful, awful unit with nothing but Trey Hendrickson, you can't do it against them.
honestly, it's just to the point now where Cincinnati needs to look at themselves and say, okay, we need to be sellers
Mm-hmm.
and just start selling off parts. Your biggest asset is Trey Hendrickson. Trade them off, get yourself some pieces, and start looking towards the future. Because even if Burrow comes back in December or whatever, by that time, you guys are going to be out of it. You're not even. Why even bring them back?
Yeah, no point.
But give Joe Flacco his credit. You come in. I didn't think he would start this week. I figured he would have waited and gave him one more week. But that's how they kick the dirt on Jake Browning. And though Jake Browning has basically fell off a cliff. I feel bad for him. Like last year, it was like, okay, this guy can handle it. This year, it's like, what the hell? Where'd that guy go?
I can't fathom how Joe Flacco makes your team that much better than Jake Browning. I cannot vision it.
But Jake Browning literally fell off the cliff. He said, okay, I'm the starter. Time to end it. I don't care.
I don't want it anymore. I don't want it.
Yeah. He's like, you see this defense and this offensive line? I want to be able to walk up straight in 10 years. I don't want to be this. There's just too many holes in.
I like my life.
Exactly. Jake Browning woke up and said, I play for Cincinnati. Why me? Why me?
Yeah.
Maybe that's what Joe Burrow's saying now. We just don't hear it. But yeah, at the end of the day, there's just too many holes on that team. And if people think they're, if Joe comes back and they make some magical run, they're fooling themselves. It's time just to admit what you are and move on.
What was that one pressure clip? I don't know whether it was from this season or in a previous season, but someone asked Joe if, hey, when you get hit for the first time, does that like pump you up? Like it makes you feel like football's back? And he goes like, well, not as much as it used to.
Seriously, it's not like he's been in the league that long. Like at that point, he sounds like Joe Flacco. Like there's no reason for me to no reason for me to be there. He's kind of like Aaron Rodgers when Aaron Rodgers is like, I don't want to play preseason. There's no reason for that. I shouldn't be getting hit.
Yeah. Broken man.
Exactly. But to sum it up, I think the bigger question is when are we going to see this explosive Green Bay offense? Like the defense is solid, but where is this offense? Everyone's like, wow, these young receivers, there's this, there's that. Basically, you count on Josh Jacobs and hope you hope that Jordan Love, who can make the throws, you just hope he doesn't throw a costly turnover. Yeah. So that's what this is.
Jordan Love is fast evolving into an extremely expensive game manager.
Yeah, like I'm not expecting him to throw for 400 yards and 4 touchdowns a game, but for what you paid him and what he's been talked up to be, like there's got to be something going on.
Yeah, like you said, Jacobs is a constant. You know what you're gonna get. Jacobs at some point. I like see Josh Jacobs sitting there like, okay, like I'm doing my part. Anyone else want to show up?
It's like that meme. I'm doing my part. Part.
I didn't do effing shit.
Yep, there it is. There's Green Bay for you, baby, but with a winning record. Go figure it out.
Thanks for the idea, Bucs McGee. I may have to make a TikTok this week.
I'm the idea guy. Sure.
Yeah, the idea guy. Next up, a very interesting game. Now, I kind of thought that the Carolina Panthers had a chance to take this one going into it. One, they almost beat the Cowboys last year. They really should have beat them last year. And two, as we talked about, although probably not on the same vein as the Bengals or the Ravens or these other future defenses, but the Cowboys defense is still pretty bad. So I kind of went into this. I'm thinking like, okay, the Panthers could pull this off. They sure did. It was a little closer than I thought, but really ballsy by Dave Canales at the end to go for it on fourth and trust Bryce Young to make a play. Who, let's face it, Bryce Young hasn't exactly given Dave Canales a ton of reasons to be confident in him.
No, but at this point, it's been how many years? What?
Yeah,
we're in what, year 3?
Yeah.
So it's you have to see what you've got, because let's be honest, there's been whispers about maybe Bryce isn't the guy, maybe it's time to move on, So why not you're trying to win a game. Let's see what he can do. And honestly, he played solid. He really did. They were able to, score, because like you said, this Dallas defense is bad. It's just bad, man. Like I figured what was going to happen is Dallas was going to win, but I thought it would have been more of a shootout. I figured Aubrey was going to get on the field. They would have kicked the 3 and it would have been something like that. But roles were reversed, then it was Carolina's kicker there who, puts it up. So give Carolina credit. They're a tough team. They can run the ball.
Go
They can.
Donald.
Yeah, that man was ready for Dallas. He said, "Come back." He said, "Come to town, guys. I'm going to show you what you're missing," and he did.
Yeah.
And everyone is high on Dak. Oh man, Dak is playing great. He's possibly MVP. Blah blah blah. It's like, okay, Dak's playing solid, but I don't. If he was that great, they would have beaten Carolina.
Yeah.
He would have taken it upon himself, because that's what we look for our quarterbacks to do. When you start looking at the body of work, okay, well, you put up some points, but you let Carolina beat you.
He's another one, like with Purdy, like with Jordan Love. Dak's there's this growing list of quarterbacks that got their big money, and they're just not living up to what that money's supposed to mean. I mean, we joke about Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes also got a few Super Bowls, and he has nothing to throw to. So at a certain point, it's not really Patrick's fault. These other guys just are getting this money for nothing.
Yeah, like Dak is talented. Like I give Dak credit. Dak is good, but at the same time, it's like if he throws for like 2 touchdowns and like 310 yards, it's like, wow, Dak Prescott, he's on his way. It's like, really, dude. It's like Mac Jones threw for like 200 yards in the first half. Like give that kid some love. And that kid's got like an oblique injury. His like colon's hanging out of his body, but he's still throwing tutties. Like, come on, man. But at the end of the day, like, it doesn't matter. Dallas, you lost, and that tie, that kind of softens what you're in your record. Kind of softens it a bit because you tied Green Bay. But you've got to start winning games that you're supposed to, and you should have been able to beat Carolina.
Yeah, and that's that their current record, especially with the tie, sets up a very interesting argument, because there's talk that CeeDee Lamb will be back in Week 7. So at 2-3-1, are the Cowboys not bad enough that CeeDee Lamb can potentially save this season?
No,
not that Dak throws to him anyway. He's in love with George Pickens for some reason.
That Ferguson, Ferguson's a quality tight end. He's started to show up a bit more. Well, no, because then, CeeDee comes back and it's, now with CeeDee back, the offense is going to be great. But let's remember when the season started, he was throwing to CeeDee like all the time, and George Pickens was just getting table scraps. So now how does the dynamic work? And we hear the story. We always hear it, there's only one ball, especially when you've got a lot of offensive weapons around you. There's only one ball. So, somebody's going to have their feelings hurt. So is Pickens gonna be the good guy like he wasn't in Pittsburgh, and say, all right, is he gonna say, all right, you throw the ball to CeeDee 7-8 times and I get 2 or 3 tosses and I'm fine with that? Is he gonna be good?
The problem with that is that Dak would throw to CeeDee in spurts, and then he would forget about him for large chunks. Like he'd hit him a couple times early, wouldn't throw to him for the second and third quarter, and then all of a sudden it was the CeeDee show in the fourth.
Well, get ready for that to happen, except it may not be the CeeDee show in the fourth either. Because Dak may have tunnel vision now because of the success statistically that they've had. And in Dak's head, he may say, okay, well, now I got CeeDee, so I'll be all right. If I can't throw to George, then I'll go to CeeDee. And then next thing you know, they forget the tight end. And then next thing you know, it's a jumbled mess of offense. So we'll see what happens, but I don't count them out yet, but I'm not going to sit here and beat on my box that, the Cowboys are playoff bound.
Yeah, not being able to know what the offense is going to do, and that's with a running attack that's here one week and gone the next.
Plus, the defense is just so bad. The defense is bad, so I just, it's like you have to count on this offense to put up 30 to 35 points a game and hope that you outscore, your opponent.
Yeah. Well, as Rico Dowdle put up a huge performance against his former team, there was another player that put up a quite the surprising performance against his former team, and I thought this was going to be a relatively easy one for my Colts. And sure enough, Jacoby Brissett comes in and decides, like, "Hey guys, remember me? You dumped me for I don't even know who. I don't even remember who at the time. Uh,
Oh
which
wow.
I'm still a little sore about that at the time because I thought Jacoby Brissett was a good stopgap to use, and we just kind of dumped him. But anyway, I mean Danny Dimes did what Danny Dimes does. Indiana Jones, excuse me. And we pulled it out. I mean, his connection with Warren is very good. Taylor had the
Hmm.
go ahead score. Pittman was a little lost in this one, but I mean, we've talked in the past that Arizona's defense isn't the worst. So I mean, I guess this is kind of the game for Indy that like get this gritty win out of the way to show like, okay, we don't always have to uh blow people out. Like we can win some tough ones too.
Yeah, though that and that's key. You have to, because I think if you're a team that's always, putting up these monster numbers, and then once you get into the dogfight, you don't know how to win those games. So no, it was a gutsy win, and yeah, Jacoby Brissett, I was shocked he was going to start. I thought I thought Kyler was gonna be able to play, but they said no. Brissett comes in and he looked solid. I give him credit, man. I didn't think he would throw the ball like that. But I guess the run game is a little questionable there in Arizona, or since over the last few weeks with the little hiccups here and there they've had.
Mm-hmm.
So Arizona's they just don't have those parts. They just don't have the parts. They've got some pieces, but they're just this team they really need to look at it, and there's some things that need to be overhauled. Um, Quarterback, I think possibly is one for Jacoby Brissett to come in here and throw it around like he did. I don't really see Kyler doing that a lot either. So it was like, okay.
Yeah, I mean
Um,
that does offer an interesting hypothetical as far as if Brissett can string a few of these games together because it seems like Kyler has a Lisfranc injury, which could keep him out for a little while. So if Brissett all of a sudden can put some strings together, some string of games together of good performances, then it starts to make you wonder. Okay, like maybe we do need to move on from Kyler because obviously he's not elevating us. We could play just fine with a backup.
yeah, at this point, it could be an option. It's almost like a San Francisco thing. Like, okay, well, you're
Yeah.
Armac Jones, so here you go. It's that whole Patriot backup quarterback thing. Once you leave and you find your way, there you go. You become a star again. So
Mm-hmm.
Arizona's going to have to find their way, but you got to give Indy credit. It was a gutsy win, and you guys are sitting pretty at top of the division.
Matt Castle after Brady didn't have quite the same effect as Brady after Bledsoe,
Nah, nah, nah. Matt
though.
Castle, nah, nah, nah.
No.
Unbelievable. Nah.
One of our favorite topics to talk about as far as a hot seat and when the misery will end is the Miami Dolphins. They did have a spirited effort. Devontae Chan was very much a small Superman in this game. They had a lead late into the game, and sure enough, fell apart and wind up losing. Anyway, to the Chargers. Is this more hey, Miami, hell of a job. Too bad it didn't work out, or is this a lot more like a Chargers? What's wrong with you? It took you this long to beat the freaking Dolphins.
Yeah, I would tilt the needle that way. It was, like I'll give Miami credit. Like it's not like they're devoid of stars or can't do anything, but even with the injuries the Chargers have, and I premise it like I say, like everybody else, I figured they would have enough where it wouldn't have been as close. But at the end of the day, it's the NFL, and you just have these surprises. But it shows that I think if this was the Chargers of years ago, they would have lost that game.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh easily, yeah.
so for them to pull it out, I think says a lot about where they are now. But at the end of the day, Miami is just a hot mess. And in the post game, Tua's up there at the podium talking about how should we make, player only meetings mandatory because some guys weren't showing up, and he's going on this rant about, guys aren't being held accountable. And I'm like, wow, bro. And what's funny is Devin McCourty on the pre-show tonight says, you're a captain. First of all, you shouldn't be airing this to the media. You should be in the locker room talking to a guy, being prepared to have an uncomfortable conversation. Because if you're a captain, that's what you do. So if you guys get into it, so be it. So then the question is who's not showing up to players only meetings and all this other stuff. At this point, I think you just blow this thing up. It's a joke. It really is. They're not going to win.
I think if you can't get anyone to show up to a players only meeting, and I should say everyone, if you can't get anyone to show up to players only meeting, that locker room is beyond lost. Like the divide on a team should be between coaches, management, what have you, and then the players, and you kind of figure out how to coexist sometimes. But the players should always be a unified force. If the players are not a unified force, there is a serious, serious problem with the chemistry of the team.
Yeah. If you're telling me the number 3 tackle isn't showing up for a players only meeting, then I'm really not worried about it. We'll just deal with him that way. But if it's your stars and your real prime players not showing up or showing up late, then there's a problem. And I think that's the kind of culture that was developed there. Because come on now, when at the height of Miami's superpower, we'll call it, when Tyreek first got there and everyone was all hip, and Mike McDaniel was there and his hip closed and everyone was like, oh yeah, he's great, yada, yada. They probably were just running the asylum. He was letting the players run the asylum. So now you've got to deal with it. And now you got little Tua up there pumping his chest, but to the wrong people. So
yeah,
I think in the offseason, Miami's going to take a drastic change from where they are now. But whatever, move on. Chargers, you won, and it's good because right now the Chiefs are looking strong. For whatever reason, because the Lions are starting to choke. They may be they're really starting to really ask for the fraudulent keys, but I digress. But hey, Chargers, like I said, won a game that last year they probably wouldn't, so credit to them.
Yeah, and it snaps a pretty bad streak between losing the Giants and losing to Washington. It kind of snaps them out of a little bit of a mini funk they were in.
Yeah, exactly. It was almost, no one really said it, but it was almost like it was a must win.
Yeah, especially with, we talk about how like Denver's the new favorite now in the division, but with the way Denver looked against the Jets, the Chargers win here, even though it probably shouldn't have been this close, still looks better than the Denver win against the Jets.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Jesus, unbelievable. That's what we said. That's what we said in our international series. We just can't send good teams. I don't know why.
I know. Unless they just need to go back to the days where there was extra rest on the front of the international game and then the bye week on the back end, because at one point the travel was a serious problem.
I don't know, but that is what it is, I guess. I don't make the calls. I just watch the product.
Yeah, the Tua thing kind of has a weird feeling of like a snitchy syndrome or a teacher's pet thing like that. Like, that's kind of like you got no balls, man. Say it to my face. Like you said, you're the captain. Go have the uncomfortable conversation.
Exactly. But that's where they are, so go Chargers, poor Miami.
And another, of course, favorite topic of ours is the state of the Baltimore Ravens. Now, they didn't get scraped like we thought they would, but it's a loss nonetheless. They fall to 1-5. There's talk Lamar may be back next week, but at 1-5, that's just maybe too late.
Yeah, I don't know, unless literally Pittsburgh free falls. I don't know if Baltimore has the moxie to dig themselves out of a hole.
Even if Pittsburgh did free fall, I honestly feel like I'd have more confidence in the Browns right now than the Ravens or the Bengals. That's just embarrassing to say, I know, but
Dylan Gabriel leads the greatest comeback and drive to the playoffs in NFL history. No, it's going to be Shador. It's going to be Shador. No, you're right, and it's just it makes no sense. It's like you look like I've said this. You look at this team and it's talented beyond belief, but they just can't figure it out. And now this is a team that should have a quality backup that can actually lead them. Mac Jones, something like that. Sorry, Cooper Rush is not that guy, and the Rams defense is really good, and I'll give Baltimore credit. They did hold them under 20 points, but at the end of the day, they just, Derrick Henry runs for 120 plus yards. You think your team would win?
Yeah. and you held Matt Stafford to 17 points.
Yeah, you're thinking you're going to win. Nope. It's like, let's find a fun way to lose. Okay, so they went there with the whiteboard and said, "All right, Rams, keep them under 20 points, and just still lose." I don't know, but here it is. I don't know. Lamar. Hopefully, here's the thing. Hopefully, Lamar's 100% when he comes back, and it's not like, okay, I'm like at 75, and I'm gonna push us through, because if he gets hurt again, he's gonna end up hurting himself even more, and then at that point they're gonna shut him down even more. So
well, and it's also the fact that he's such an explosive player. So Lamar at 75%, unless he significantly changes the way he plays, that it's probably not even going to be a very effective Lamar. Now he'll probably still be more effective than Cooper Rush, but is he going to be effective enough to lift this team with that porous defense to a playoff berth? I don't know.
If it's a situation where he's got to sit in the pocket the whole game, I'd still I would trust him more than Cooper Rush. But the problem is that just the thought of his legs is what gives that team the edge. That's what helps Derrick Henry, because it's like, okay, who's gonna run the ball? Derrick gets to run free and not have to worry about teams keying on him, just him, because Lamar could take it and shoot off. Now, if Lamar can't run and he's just sitting there going, okay, I'm hanging in the pocket. If he goes back to good old pocket passer style, pocket passers in the heyday were the best. I'm tired. I want these runners running around.
That's right. Peyton, Brady, Ben, Rivers.
Sit your tail in the pocket till you got to absolutely run. Look to throw first.
Be the greatest QB sneaker of all time.
Took the man like 30 years to get 1,000 yards. That's freaking hilarious. Tom Brady, greatest rushing quarterback of all time. But at the end of the day, I don't know, man. Baltimore's right now is just hanging on reputation only. If they're going to do this, they've got to go on like a 4 or 5 game run right off the bat. Like they have to. And they have to hope that the Steelers somehow stumble.
And to round out the theme of injuries for the week, I also didn't catch this until Football Night in America, but Puka Nacua also exited this game early. So that's a significant loss to the Rams' offense and just how proficient they are. I mean, he was on record-setting pace. He was on a record-setting pace.
Yeah, over 2,000 yards, I think 150 receptions, they said today. Like, he was going to blow records out the water. But see, here's the thing. It's week 6. When you start talking like that, it's like, I hate that. Like, let me know when it's like week 10, week 11. It's like, you're on pace for this. Okay.
Striking distance, yeah.
Yeah.
Striking distance.
Week 1, you catch 10 passes. You're on your way to 1,000 passes in a year. Yada, yada. Like, come on, man. Like, calm it down. It's ridiculous. But yeah, if Puka's out for any amount of time, that Rams defense, that's going to become an issue, because like the run game is solid, but they have the fumbles. They got fumbleitis. Yeah. We've seen that. And the other guys, I don't know if they have enough weapons to make up his production. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with this ankle injury. And with it being an ankle injury, who knows? If he's out any amount of time, I'd guess 2 to 3 weeks, because the way that it sounds it's not serious, but it's enough to where, it's going to be a couple weeks. So we'll see how that plans out.
Yeah, no Fred Warner bad, but still pretty bad. Receivers
Yeah,
need their ankles. They're important for cuts.
they need their ankles. You need your hamstrings. It's just these simple things.
Yeah. Well, Bucks McGee, it was a big week of more M.A.S.H unit news and a big week of teams going in ways that games going in ways that we thought they would go, but with a lot of asterisks and yeah buts. Sure, take us off here with your final thoughts from week 6.
All right, week 6. Well, sir, first of all, again, congratulations, and hope you enjoy Victory Monday. Um, Baltimore fans, just I don't know what to tell you guys. I feel bad, but maybe Lamar coming back does a little something for you. Jets fans, that is just a putrid mess. I don't blame Aaron Glenn, but good Lord, you guys have got to figure it out. What else I got here for you? Oh, Monday night looks good. Buffalo, you're my favorite team. You're my favorite team this week, Buffalo. Handle those birds. And who's your real MVP this year? Let me give you a hint. It's Bacon in Tampa.